Hello there, good evening. Welcome to News 90 on Metro Television with me, Bridget Otuwe, live from the capital, our studio, Ekia Buahima, and also across social media at Metro TV GH if you're on Twitter and at Metro TV Ghana if you're on Facebook. Now let's begin with the headlines tonight. Minority Caucus serves notice to soon take on the National Communications Authority for engaging the services of a private firm to deploy a self-service app for SIM card registration without recourse to approval by Parliament. Contractors Association of Ghana threatens to sue government for failing to pay them arrears for work done for the past 4 years. A 42-year-old pump-action Weldon man arrested after invading a funeral at Achimkede in the eastern region in an attempt to assassinate the chief of Sabarima Ejaritinadu II. And in news from elsewhere, UN's World Food Programme plans a food relief program targeting 700,000 Zimbabweans who are affected by a poor harvest and the Ukraine war. We have details of these stories and more for the next 60 minutes. Thank you again for joining us here on Metro Television. Hello again. Our very first story tonight, and that's our headline story. And the Minority Caucus in Parliament has served notice it will soon take on the National Communications Authority for engaging the services of a private firm to deploy a self-service app for SIM card registration without recourse to the approval by Parliament. Now, whilst addressing the media on Tuesday, the Minority Leader Haruna Idris also asked government to withdraw its intended decision to block SIM cards which are not registered by 30th September 2022.
Mobile network subscribers have been queuing for weeks at various telecommunication registration centers to get their SIM card biometrically captured. The queue got much bigger after the National Communications Authority's move to bar unregistered SIM card owners from making calls.
Government, they are not talking about this one. Ghanaians is suffering. Their network service is not working. Nothing is not working. Since in the morning, we have been sleeping here. Me and some man, we bring our bed sheet.
The Minority Leader, Haruna Idrisu, in a press conference on Tuesday, wondered why government wasn't interested in assisting all Ghanaians to get their SIM cards registered without the needless drama.
An old person who is relying on the mobile telephone in order that the child will remit him for his upkeep will be denied an opportunity. So this government simply doesn't understand the weight of mobile telephony, telecommunications as an essential emergency tool. If an emergency even was to happen within this presence of Parliament, probably many of you will run to your phone to send an alert, either to fire service or you are attacked by armed robbers, you rely on mobile telephony as an essential tool. I don't want to believe that the National Communications Authority and the Minister of Communication are naive in appreciating and understanding the significance of telecommunications and in particular the use of mobile phone.
He also warned that his side of the house will take on the National Communications Authority for deploying a self-service app without approval from Parliament.
How did we get approval for this to happen? Is it that it was imposed on the mobile operators? Was it imposed? And I'm saying that SIM registration, naturally, you don't even need a private person. In the license regime of every mobile phone operator, you are duty bound to know your customers, referred to as subscribers. We are probing who is deploying this for what and how come it is failing, who sanctioned the fees, where and when, because we know that Parliament fees and charges come through us.
Meanwhile, Deputy Ranking Member of the Communications Committee, Sam George, says the class action against the National Communications Authority will continue despite the withdrawal of the SIM blocking directive by the authority.
Right, and President Take Forward has sparked yet another controversy with his comments that he was unsure whether Galamsey Queen Aisha Wong was truly deported from this country. His comments has given many watchers, including the minority leader in Parliament, Haruna Idrisu, chiding the president for being clueless about crucial matters such as the status of a known illegal minor.
The Aisha Wong, when you have a situation like this woman who was, I'm not still sure whether she was in fact deported or whether she fled the country the first time and has now come back. But whatever, there still seems to be some uncertainty about
These comments from the president appears to have further muddied the already dirty waters on matters concerning the Galamsey Queen Aisha Wong. The president acknowledged the influx of Chinese nationals engaged in illegal mining in the country and gave an assurance that work is being done to clamp down on the activities.
Whichever way it is, she has become the sort of nickname for all that the Galamsey represents. And unfortunately, also for the involvement of Chinese nationals in Ghana in this particular illicit trade. We have constantly to work at it. We need to have the cooperation of the courts.
For Minority Leader, the president's comments is a clear indication that he was not on top of issues.
We will deal with Aisha Wong. Even the president is living in an uncertain world and doesn't know what happened to Aisha Wong. A litmus test for the rule of law, litmus test for equality of the law, litmus test for his failing fight against Galamsey. God bless. So,
Member of Parliament for North Tongue Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa, in a tweet, also alleged Aisha Wong was not escorted during her supposed deportation. These startling revelations have caused many to question the effectiveness of Ghana's security detail. Richard Kumado is a security consultant.
Now, the re-emergence of Aisha Wong and those who craftily said she passes through the Togo border to indicate the fact that the porous nature of our border or the unapproved route is what made it possible. They were not telling the truth. And that is what is haunting the president. And that is why the president spoke the way he did. Some of us believe that it's either Aisha Wong didn't leave this country at all, or the standard protocols were not followed. And if you also remember point number 2, immigration officers in the second re-emergence of Aisha Wong said that Aisha Wong did not pass through Togo border. Somebody was not telling the president the truth, and the president is now finding out the truth that probably Aisha Wong did not leave the country at all. Because if it does, official documentations from what Okudzeto Ablakwa is saying would have proved that Aisha Wong left. This is the day she left. This is the plane she took. This is the time she landed in China. And what were the protocol arrangements with the Chinese? So the president is bleeding, and I think he's speaking the truth for once.
In the president's defense, Information Minister Kojo Oponkroma said the president never said he was unsure if Aisha Wong was deported or she fled. In a tweet, he said, while the Minister for Interior can deport, the Immigration Service cannot. The instrument which the Immigration Service uses in such circumstances is a repatriation notice. Either way, the effect was that she was caused to exit from Ghana at the material moment.
We're going on the phone to speak to an MP, West Central, and also member of the ranking member of the Parliament's Lands and Forestry Committee, Rasheed Pelford. Good evening, sir, and thank you very much for joining us.
Yeah, good evening and welcome.
Hello, sir.
Yes, good evening. Welcome. Thank you so much.
Right, we'll try and work our lines to get the member of Parliament from West. Yes, we can. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you very much for joining us. First of all, are you surprised by the president's comment? Does that in any way mar the seriousness that they are going to attach to the state in which Aisha Wong has put this country in?
Yes, I'm very worried about it. I'm very surprised about it. it tells us that as a state, we are not serious with our security. We are not committed in securing the state against intruders and violators of our laws. And it's disturbing, especially because it's coming from the president.
Right.
It tells us that at the first instance, no serious commitment was made to ensure that this evil was killed.
Okay. And but the AG says we're ready to prosecute her. Are they wishy-washy, or they are serious about it? So you think that the AG is rather using it as a cover-up of some sort to let her walk again?
Well, the AG should tell us what he did earlier when they said they were deporting her. Under what rules, what laws, obligations did they come under to deport her? Was she actually deported as speculated by the president? It shows that there are huge lapses, in what the state is determined to do. It does look like they are not holding the stake. They are not committed enough in dealing with the issue, and it's also telling us the AG may not be the kind of serious, may not be demonstrating the kind of seriousness that we want to see this thing go through.
Baba, is the president being honest here when he says he's unsure with the privilege he has, the intelligence that he has more than any other person in this country?
Yeah, that what he says demonstrates a president who is not holding his state by the two hands. It shows that we shouldn't be confident in dealing with such a man who cannot be sure about what his minister may have done or may not have done. This was a very high-profile issue. Lots of people talked about it. It became more a national issue to international issue. It came to a point when a senior minister in his office made a statement about her and said it was better for her to be deported rather than prosecuted. That means that it was at the center of the presidency. If today the president is wondering whether she was deported or not, it tells us that he is not on hold of his state. It tells us that he is not committed to dealing with this issue, and that we may have handed power to someone who is truly not in control of the state.
Okay.
And we cannot be in a state that is in autocrats.
Okay. What would you want to see happen, given the narrative, given the rhetoric from the president? In one breath, he says, I want her to face the full rigors of the law. In another breath, he says, I don't know. And in 2018, the president said, Aisha Wong's deportation was a mistake. So he was emphatic then.
Yes. So your question?
So what would you want to see happen with these on and off statements? In one moment, the president is aware, in another moment, he's not aware. And what would you want to see different happen now?
I want to see fairness done to a person who is not a Ghanaian. Fairness being that if he has committed any crime, there must be some prosecution. And if he has, and if the crime is speculated, let us make sure we come to the conclusion that she's either guilty or not guilty. I want to see that fairness happen.
Okay.
I want to see a president who can be very firm about ensuring that our state's resources are protected, and that he will not be ashamed to do that, despite whoever is involved. It should be, even if it is a Ghanaian, if it is not a Ghanaian, whoever it is, the laws of the country are supreme. You cannot go to the United States or to China, commit huge crimes against their states, and then have their president talking in a speculative manner. We must be very serious about what Ghana is and how to protect the country. Yes.
Okay, all right. Thank you. Thank you very much for talking to us. And the story is actually in 2019. So if you go to citynewsroom.com, the headline is Aisha Wong's deportation was a mistake. And the exact quote from the president is, I think the decision to deport Aisha Wong in hindsight was a mistake. And that is why that process and procedure is being stopped. He said at a forum at Princeton University during his visit to the United States of America. So you can read the full story there. All right, so let's continue with the rest of our stories now. One of our headline stories tonight. And the Joint Contractors Association of Ghana has threatened to sue government for failing to pay them arrears for work done for over 4 years. The association has therefore given government a 2-week ultimatum to respond to their calls or face their wrath.
The Joint Contractors Association has accused government of failing to pay them for work done dating back to 2018. The association admitted that, although some of their members have received part payment for their works, majority are still owed huge sums of money.
You could even see in the numbers, that were present here today. Some of our members have to park their cars because they can't fuel the cars. Like we said, marriages are on the rocks. Homes are being broken. It has really affected people. One thing about contractors, like other businessmen, and we are some of the pillars in our society, the communities where we live. When somebody has issues with school fees for their children, they call on you. When somebody's child is admitted in the hospital, they call on you. We support our communities. So in times like this, where we can't even take care of our own selves, you can imagine the multiplier effect it has on the people who depend on us. So it is a dire situation.
Chairman of the Conscientious Public Sector Contractors, Bernard Azuma, says various meetings with the government has yielded no results. He said they are willing to go to the negotiation table if government invites them, but will not hesitate to embark on an industrial action and possibly take the matter to court if their concerns are not addressed by 27th September 2022.
We pray that government will listen to us because it's a genuine call. But if the government does not listen to us, we have options. We don't want to threaten government with legal actions and what of you that we have to ourselves. But we will be compelled. We'll have no option than to engage legal action against government. All our members will go to court.
Contractors say their finances have hugely been affected by this predicament, with some of their members being chased by financial institutions for their inability to repay loans owed them.
We're going on Zoom to speak to Bernard Azuma. He's the chair of the Conscientious Public Sector Contractors on this. A very good evening and thank you very much for joining us.
Good evening, but sorry, this is not Mr. Bernard. This is
Richard Nyako. All right, Richard. Thank you, Richard. So Richard, one would ask, 4 years, why? What have you done? What did you do in the last 4 years in trying to get your money from government?
Okay, so within some certificates date as far back as 4 years.
Okay.
Some are 2 years, some are a year, some are 3 years old.
Okay.
These are within a space of 4 years.
Okay.
And every time we have been knocking on the corridors of government, asking that we get paid. Okay. And the story remains the same. There is no money.
Okay.
You guys have to wait for a little while.
And they say there's no money.
Yes.
And has that situation changed?
Well, we haven't been paid, so we don't know. We don't know if the situation has changed.
You haven't been paid at all, because we heard that some monies have been paid. Is that correct or it's false?
Well, if some money has been paid, most of our members have not been paid.
But has any money been paid at all?
Within the last 4 years, yes. Monies were paid up to, I think, 2020 with some certificate.
Okay.
However, a big chunk of it has not been paid up to date.
What number are we looking at of those affected?
As far as contractors, I know we are in the thousands.
Right.
Yes, thousands of companies.
And what is the issue with the Greater Accra Regional Chair? I understand that he passed. Was it as a result of lack of finance? What happened to him? Was it stress? Was it what happened to him?
Well, not just the original chairman, but there's been quite a few of our members who have lost their lives. And of course, you can't pinpoint the cause of death for anybody, but some of it is just unexplainable. People who are stressed, constant harassment from creditors and all of that. And you know how stress can easily lead to heart attacks and stuff like that. And some of these deaths are stress related. So we can easily conjecture, even though it's
That is
conjecture.
related. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. When last did you engage governments?
It's an ongoing thing. I can say for a fact that some of our members who have payments pending at Get Fund engaged or wrote a letter to Get Fund as early as 3 weeks ago.
Hello, sir?
Yes.
Sorry, I didn't get your last statement.
I was saying that the engagement is an ongoing thing.
Right.
I can say specifically for people who have payments pending at Get Fund that apart from our members visiting individually, our associations have written letters
Okay.
to Get Fund within the last couple of weeks.
So, are you working or you have laid down your tools?
We, in most cases, cannot work because this is how it works. So you take a project, you're supposed to pre-finance it to a point.
Right.
You get paid, and then you go back to site to continue.
Okay.
So while the payment is pending, you cannot work.
All right.
And unfortunately for some of our members, these are completed projects that are waiting to be paid. And you need that money to invest into another project. So most of our members are not working at all.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much, Rachel Nyaku, for speaking to us tonight on the contractors who have been unpaid for some dates back 4 years, some 2 years. And he says majority of them have actually not been paid and they are unable to work. Let's continue with the rest of our stories now. And a public outcry has greeted plans to increase the prices of petroleum products in the country in the coming days. Drivers at the Odona branch of the GPRTU say the frequent increase in fuel price is having a negative toll on their business. My colleague Zoe Anita O'Day spoke to some drivers and passengers.
When they chat someone, when someone picks you and maybe you are going to Kaneshi and it's like 5 cities and tell the person like the person should pay like 10 cities, the person will complain about fuel price back and forth and stuff. It's not going to help us in our business. It's really going to affect us. It's really going to affect us seriously. So the government should see something to it and do something about it for us.
When you want to fill the tank, it's like 30 Ghana cedis, and as some goes on, then they come and increase it 40. But now 2 million cannot fill your tank, which is very bad. So we are bleeding for the government because the government is not buying the fuel. The MPs and those who follow the government are not buying the fuel, so they don't know what is going on. They're just killing us like how they have slaughtered a goat.
Now for kahani ha ni eje osika kese na edwuma yin kura ni kuram na de bia kakra ye besa nya ye sade frofro car ha adwen na menuanom drivers no so enya omo fault omo bre wo be ya edwuma at the end of the day no na che say sika unya nyina wo de koma fuel ra wo de koto fuel enya fine
yan tumu no so ha yen because ye be edwuma na de se pan akofie so what dem make am me pa je say your top petrol no but fuel price no yen tumu do ebe ha amount for but say so ha yen so nti omo ye bibin fa ho.
I need to make an urgent call, but you realize you don't have credits, or your very important conversation was cut short because you ran out of credits. Well, there's no need for all that stress because all you have to do on MTN is dial *506# and you get to borrow credits on MTN extra time. The best part is you can also borrow data by dialing same number *506# and you can bundle data wherever or whenever you run out of credits and continue browsing as always. You don't always have to end your conversation. Borrow extra time now and enjoy the things you love to do on your favorite network, MTN. All right, so still to come on News Night.
Okay, say offer say ya me boot na yen gina na ho ene ya say so obeku na na dia ene ekunya nyina
Welcome back to News Tonight here on Metro Television and to one of our headline stories tonight. A 42-year-old gunman who invaded a funeral at Achimkede in the eastern region in an attempt to assassinate the chief, Osaberima Ejari Tinudu II, has been granted bail pending appearance in court on a later date. Osei Forson Kwejo and his accomplices had earlier scattered chairs at the funeral ground and pushed down the stool of the chief.
The incident has been linked to the 13-year-old chieftaincy dispute in the Achimkede traditional area. Although the substantive chief, Osaberima Asare Tinudu II, has been properly gazetted, a faction in the same royal family has similarly installed a parallel chief, thereby intermittently disturbing the peace of the area. On the fateful day, the gunman, Osei Forson Kwejo, fired warning shots at the reserved sitting area for the chief and his entourage, forcing almost everybody at the funeral to run for safety. But for the timely arrival of the police CID at the funeral grounds to arrest the suspect, officers of the police band present at the grounds were helpless as they were without firearms.
An
opinion leader in the community, Nana Kwesi Dakwa, also spoke with the media.
And I say, so Ubekuna Nadia, and you kuyenina Nianko, and a Konyaba or ko or by a son or so. And or to two into pay. Afi and Kofa, and what a yenasiano. Bebre ye obey.
The municipal chief executive for Kwaibi Brim, Seth Enchibuesiakon, called on the Inspector General of Police, Dr. George Akufu Dampare, to beef up security in the community as chieftaincy disputes remain a major threat to the peace and stability of the municipality.
Nti ma omu nyina san ba back ma Sunday ye fine e fa security matters there say obemu a enka mepe if you say ni huni say e protracted e ya che ni etia na tie nti no ama ase obia huni hu say o tumi na eno na e ha me my bread for almost about me cost 7 years. Security matters.
The suspect has been granted bail to be prepared for court on a later date.
Upper East Regional NADMO Director Ahmed Mustafa says farmers living along the White Volta must begin to move to higher grounds as the flood being caused by the Bagri Dam spillage keeps rising. This, he says, will help prevent the loss of lives.
Already, hundreds of farmlands in the area have been submerged by the floods caused by the Bagri Dam spillage. Although no life has been lost as a result of the flood like previous years, the regional director for the National Disaster Management Organization, NADMO, is calling on the residents to relocate to higher grounds.
As a matter of fact, the water levels keep on rising day by day. And it's important the farmers start moving to the higher grounds. Those who can do harvesting, we just pray to them that they should start as early as possible. If it will give them problems, it is important to leave to the higher ground, such that when the water levels are rising, they can come back.
He added the organization will continue to educate the residents on the dangers of disregarding this notice.
We are embarking on a rigorous education on the situation, but the information that we receive from Soheben in Burkina Faso. So some of the farmers are actually taking our advice. Some are equally even assisting us through the education. In fact, some chiefs and opinion leaders in the communities are equally assisting us in that regard. What NADMO can do now is to intensify the education. This was the first stage. We don't want the disaster to actually occur, so that NADMO could be going out to give out relief items. This is a stage where education actually is needed, and that's exactly what NADMO is doing.
A former spokesperson for the Pualugu Dam construction, David Pra, in an earlier interview with Metro News, said the annual flood caused by the spillage of the Bare Dam will come to an end once the construction of the Pualugu Dam is completed.
There has been a construction of pegs across all the dam boundaries in order to know where exactly the dam will be located, and then the communities that fall within the dam boundaries have been informed. And so we cannot currently say that, yes, we have put in place an alternative system to divert the flood. No. However, extensive works have gone on with respect to the RAP and then the EI.
Affected farmers are appealing to the government to support them to venture into dry season farming to fend for their families.
The Attorney General and Minister of Justice has urged lawyers to be more concerned about the fundamental problems of the justice delivery system. Now, according to Godfred Yabuadami, the survival of democracy lies on the shoulders of the lawyers, whose prime responsibility is to uphold the legal standards and ethics.
The judiciary is not without its problems. The bar should, however, be concerned about more serious and fundamental problems with our justice system. A court system which leaves accused persons to face state prosecutors with no adequate representation is hardly satisfactory. We need to strengthen legal aid. A court system in which summary trials of criminal cases can last for more than 4 years, militates against the right to a fair trial, defeats the ends of justice, and must be looked at again. A prison system comprising overcrowded and understaffed seminaries of crime is not a functioning prison system. These matters should be of prime concern to the bar. Barristers are not mere economic actors, to borrow the words of Sir David Clementi, former chairman of the British Broadcasting Corporation. We are professionals whose role is to ensure that justice is done according to law. We act not only in the interests of consumers, but also in the public interest. At the heart of this profession are three commitments: to independence, to excellence, and to advocacy. These three tenets, combined with the bar's high degree of versatility, explain why the bar has survived in Ghana since 1876, and why, in my view, it will continue to survive and thrive. But we should not take these things for granted. The essential elements of the profession must be guarded against elements who seek to destroy same. We must be careful to ensure that our reactions to adverse rulings given against us by the courts do not traverse the bounds of ethical behavior. On this note, may I remind you.
And on the business of Ponzi schemes in Ghana, banking consultant Nana Otuo calls on the Securities and Exchange Commission to strengthen the campaign on financial literacy as the most practical solution.
In a space of 3 to 4 years, from 2015 to 2018, 2 major Ponzi schemes were shut down in Ghana, with tons of Ghanaians losing billions of cedis. However, new schemes keep luring some sect of Ghanaians with repetitive investment patterns. In 2015, DKM Diamond Microfinance Company Limited was suspended by Bank of Ghana for failing to comply with terms and conditions stipulated in its license, not having adequate assets to cover its liabilities to depositors, and offering high interest to investors. Audits conducted by Bank of Ghana show that the company had a total deposits liability of 115.24 million Ghana cedis against a total of cash of 10.8 million Ghana cedis. Men's Gold also had its license withdrawn by SEC by the Securities and Exchange Commission in 2018 and prevented the company from trading in gold. SEC found Men's Gold guilty of dealing and buying in deposits of gold collectibles from the public and entering into contracts with them. Banking consultant Nana Otuo Bediako has said that ignorance is the major problem.
And for financial literacy, it starts from even the developed countries all the way to the developing countries, that people do not have the wherewithal to be able to understand these type of returns. And that's why, for instance, previously, some licensed institutions were giving loans and quoting rate at per month rate. When you say 5% per month, very few people will sit down and multiply 5 by 12 and get 6%, right? And compared to, say, a universal bank, where they will say the interest is 25% per annum. So now you compare. So this is where they get the average person. And I wouldn't say even the average Ghanaian, because it happens in all jurisdictions. It happens in advanced countries like even the UK, the US, and developing countries like Ghana, Nigeria, and so on. So that's all because the financial literacy is not there.
Thousands of Ghanaians continue to remain victims to a repetitive system of losses.
We're taking a break. We'll be back with business. Do stay on with us here on Metro Television.
Welcome back to Newsnight Live on Metro TV. My name is Winston Taki. And now to a first business story. The National Petroleum Authority has issued a notice of oil marketing companies owing the Private Distribution Margin Fund. The notice published by the NPA outlined 45 OMCs owing over 68 million Ghana cedis.
The NPA has given the defaulting OMCs a deadline of August 4, 2022 to pay up or face legal action to recover all outstanding debts. The amount represents the primary distribution margin. The authority stated that if these OMCs fail to settle their debt by September 30th, 2022, the names of their directors and shareholders will also be published. This was contained in a statement dated September 13, 2022. The 45 oil marketing companies include Apex Petroleum Ghana Limited, BlackRock Energy Limited, Champion Oil Company Limited, G&G Limited, Zoe Petroleum, Samtol Energy, and more, all owed to the tune of about 68 million Ghana cedis. The primary distribution and transmission margin goes into a fund, and proceeds are used to offset costs incurred in moving products from the Bulk Oil and Storage Transport Company Limited receiving depot to other bus depots across the country. Per the law, payment of margins is to be made 45 days after the lifting of products, and defaulting OMCs are deactivated from loading. However, records at NPA show that the defaulting OMCs owe margins for products lifted between December 2021 and April 2022. The authority is also reconciling margins for products lifted from May till now. Per the sanctions prescribed in law, the defaulting OMCs will be stopped from operating should they fail to pay up by the August 4 deadline. The NPA intends to proceed to court to recover all outstanding debt from the defaulting OMCs.
Now, away from that, interest rate in the short-term Treasury market rose further to 31% as investors continue to show interest in the short-term securities. There is more in the following report.
The government exceeded its target for the 13th week running. The cost of repaying these loans will go up. Since inflation began rising about 5 months ago, interest rates have been escalating consistently to compensate investors. This has boosted investor interest in treasury bills. However, the rising interest payments are a matter of concern to many economists, analysts, and market watchers. According to the auction results by the Bank of Ghana, the 91-day treasury bill went for 29.48%, compared to 29.04% the previous week, while the 182-day T-bill traded at 31.05% as against 30.22% the earlier week. Similarly, the T-bill sale was oversubscribed by 35% to the tune of 2.28 billion Ghana cedis, though the investors still showed more interest in the 3-month bill. That of the 6-month bill also witnessed significant interest this time around. 860.92 million Ghana cedis worth of bids came from the 182-day bill. 815.70 million Ghana cedis were, however, accepted. The target for this auction was 1.682 billion Ghana cedis.
Now, cocoa farmers in Ghana have warned that the country could lose more productive cocoa farms to illegal mining if cocoa price margins remain unchanged. The call comes ahead of this year's Cocoa Day, which falls on October 1st, 2022, and marks the beginning of the cocoa year.
In Ghana, the day is very significant as it coincides with the government's annual announcement of the cocoa producer or farm gate price for the ensuing cocoa season. Although the government is yet to make any public statement on the matter, unofficial sources have cited cocoa board's indebtedness as a reason an increment in the cocoa producer price cannot be expected. Cocoa production in the world's second largest exporter nation is under the siege of a four-pronged challenge of drought, disease, illegal mining, and poor commodity prices, which seriously threatens sustainability. The government and Ghana Cocoa Board, the sector regulator, are implementing the National Cocoa Rehabilitation Program with support from Africa Development Bank in response to the cocoa swollen shoot virus disease. A cocoa board audit in 2017 revealed that more than 300,000 hectares of cocoa farms had been infected by the disease, which renders cocoa trees unproductive. The other two challenges confronting the cocoa sector, illegal mining and poor prices, continue to remain daunting puzzles yet to be tackled.
That'll be all for business here on Newsnight. My name is Winston Taki. Sports is next with Phil Joncote.
It's 47 past 19 hours GMT, the Ghanaian capital of Accra. Let's go straight to Antwerp. We've got two Africans on targets as Liverpool are drawing 1-1 with Ajax in the Champions League. Mo Salah of Egypt scored for Liverpool, while Ghanaian international Kudus Mohammed scored. Also, it's 1-1 now. Then in Munich, Bayern Munich are growing goalless with Barcelona. Such a high-tension game, and it's got it interesting. We're back here in Ghana. Let's focus on Azaka's ladies because they have been defending the reason why they decided to pull out of the National Super Women's League. Evelyn Insiasari is the CEO of Azaka's ladies.
We have participated in league. We became second. That's the runner-up and then FA Cup. Our monies have not been given to us. So we are indebted. There is no money in the team anymore. Yes, we wrote to the FA that they wrote to us first to declare our intention to participate. And we were champions last year. So we wrote to them that we will participate. And then they told us something little will come from their end. We waited till Friday. When the money was not coming, we wrote to them that we have issues. We have financial problem because of the WAFU, because of the Champions League and other things. So we want to withdraw. So
the main reason it has to do with finance. Are you disappointed that the money's owed you by the FA has not come?
Finance.
Are you guys disappointed that money's owed you has not come?
We are so much disappointed. Not even with the FA, even with CAF,
okay.
Our mother body.
Yeah.
My brother, since last year, November, we have written several letters to them. They haven't even gotten back to us. What did we do wrong? We haven't done anything wrong. We are entering into a competition where we are going to be given 16,500, where transportation alone is taking 26,000 Ghana cedis from us.
Okay.
Who does that? So not that we wanted to destroy the competition or what. In fact, it hurts us so much that we are not there because we are the defending champions. Okay. But when we look at our finances, it was so difficult. That's the reason why we contacted the General Secretary to speak to him, and him giving us assurance that our monies will be paid. It was true last June, and we are in September. We need the money, for Christ's sake.
Quick one. Well, that's your sports. My name is Phil Joncote. Up next, Showbiz.
My name is Aisha Wong, and it's time for Showbiz News. On Entertainment's review earlier, Liquid Zero signed act Scanner narrated why he believes Sugarcane crooner Kamido took inspiration for his recent single Kaba from him after a failed collaboration. Scanner seems to be very chilled about this and believes he is going to make bigger and better sounds.
The same.
Yeah, so
but
I just
regardless, you are proud of yourself.
I'm cool, yeah, I'm cool. You know?
Okay, right.
Yeah, at least I know.
You want inspiration. Exactly, that's actually good. I mean, he's not angry. You're not angry.
No, I'm not angry. I'm not angry. I'm very cool.
Okay.
I mean, that's how the industry is now. Like, I scratch your back, you scratch my back.
Yeah. Fabiana, how would you feel about a situation like that? How would you have felt?
Not cool.
You wouldn't be cool. I mean, like, you're taking it like really, really cool. And to say that, so it's like, I would say that Ode is asking extra red.
Like he said, he has a personal relationship with George. And even if it doesn't come through now, you benefit in the future.
Sometime. And then even aside that, I'm too good, and then I know I'll be doing crazy.
Period.
Yeah, so.
The Ghanaian international model Hamamat Montia has walked the New York Fashion Week runway with her baby bump. The beautiful model turned entrepreneur entertained an excited crowd as she modeled the spring-summer collection of Studio 189. Studio 189 is a Ghanaian fashion brand based in Osu with an eye for the international market. Hamamat catwalked the New York Fashion Week runway and was featured in Vogue with a stunning photo of herself and her baby bump. That's it for Entertainment News. My name is Isiodwa Akumia. Bridget?
Thank you. Thank you very much, Isiodwa Akumia. International News is next.
The UN's World Food Programme, WFP, is planning a food relief program targeting 700,000 people in Zimbabwe who are affected by poor harvest and the Ukraine war, an official said. Zimbabwe's government is working with agencies to provide food aid for 3.8 million people, the WFP told Reuters on Tuesday. The South African country has been struggling to feed itself since 2000 when former leader Robert Mugabe championed the seizure of white-owned farms to resettle landless black people. The current administration has said it expects a stable maize harvest to fall by nearly half this year to 1.56 million tons from last season's 2.72 million tons due to poor rainfall in the 2021-2022 growing season. The queue to view the Queen's coffin at St. Giles Cathedral in Edinburgh has been closed. The Queen's coffin has been escorted out of the cathedral, beginning the journey to London. It will be taken to stay overnight at Buckingham Palace before moving on Wednesday to Westminster Hall, where the Queen will lie in state for 4 days. The national minute's silence has meanwhile been announced for 8 p.m. on Sunday, the night before the Queen's funeral in Westminster Abbey.
All right, so that's it for News Night. Thank you so much for joining us. My producer, Abdullah Mohammed, director, Solomon Antonado was our studio or floor manager. Thank you again. See you tomorrow.